Yo, yo, yo. Can you guys hear me? I think you guys can hear me. Okay. I hope you guys can hear me. Yo, how you doing, Imperial Activity? It's so good to see you, fam. Thank you so much for coming out. Let's go. I'm trying to see if I can get this going over here. I don't know why my all sound good? All right, good. I'm glad. Thank you, fam. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for always being active. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. I'm trying to do the live on the whatchamacallit again, on YouTube. So I got it both on YouTube. Today I got my Squadron. I love it. It's so nice. It's so sick. I got it with the entire. I don't know what they're called. Damn it, man. But yeah, I got the jacket too. I'm waiting for it to get actually cold, but it doesn't ever get cold down here in Florida. So, you know. Oh man. One thing. I hope how you guys doing though? How you guys doing? Yo, Predecessors and Acolytes coming into the Dark Temple. Visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and now we are here, fam, to talk about the good stuff in Star Wars, man. We'll see how long this one does, and I'm still trying to figure out what is the best way to stream to YouTube Shorts and also Instagram to see what we're going to do. But thank you so much, Imperial, for coming out over here. Thank you so much, Texas Yankee fam. So good to see you all. I really wanted to talk about Ancient Sith Lords today in general, because I feel like Ancient Sith Lords in general are really interesting to talk about, especially when we want to talk about like Marco Ragnos, Naga Sadao, Ludo Kresh, not so much, but Frida Nad, and of course ahch-to are really all very interesting, especially the way that they're depicted in the Tales of the Jedi comics. But Imperial says the best place to be here on Tuesday evening here in the temple. Even the Imperial like me. Let's go. Yes, sir. Yes. I love to hear it. I'm the unofficial channel remote audio engineer. I love to see that, fam. Yo, what's up, fam? So good to see. Thank you so much for coming over here. Going to be talking about some Ancient Sith Lords today. It's going to be really fun. I've actually... the reason why I've been talking about a lot of the Tales of the Jedi stuff is because I've been rereading them. And it's some of the most fun comics, man. It's some of the most enjoyable comics. And a lot of those comics were created back in like 1994, 1995, 1996, all the way through 1999. And it really makes me wonder whether or not a lot of it gave inspiration to the prequels, since they were so early in the development of Star Wars. And it's really interesting, especially when you start to read and see what happens with ahch-to. And ahch-to specifically, just about how the Sith are, man. It's just really interesting to see how dynamic of a character ahch-to is, and his progression into the downfall and his eventual turn to the dark side. Which I felt like, you know, every time I read it, I always feel like it's very similar to Anakin. Mr. Walk says, can I see the action figures in the back? Yeah, so we have the Funko stuff and other action figures, and as well as the X-Wing stuff to the left. YouTube sees that as well. And then the right is a lot of the Legos, Mando helmet, and lightsabers. And I have the other stuff that's going to be coming out this way. I got two statues. I have the Revan statue that I'm supposed to be getting this holiday season, whenever that's going to be, whenever they're going to give that to me, whenever it's going to ship out. The Revan one is supposed to be coming really quick, and then the Ahsoka, the white one, so I'm really excited to get that. Texas says, I'm just getting off work, and you're going to be my company on the way home. Let's freaking go. You know, it's what's crazy is I used to have a podcast. I don't even know if you can really call it a podcast, but it was called Unlock the Knowledge, and it was all about Star Wars, and that's all I talked about, and it was on Spotify. It was anywhere you could listen to Audible, or anywhere you could listen to podcasts, was where I was able to put that thing. But I stopped because I felt like I wasn't necessarily I don't know, like, not that I was like bad or anything. It was just I really do feel like a podcast is more people, you know, more than one person, if that makes any sense. And I feel like I don't know, man. It's Really annoying. Thank you, Mr. Walker. I appreciate the compliment. Yes, and the whole reason why I set up the room this way is because, one, I've always wanted a Star Wars, room. I don't know if you guys have ever seen some of the stuff on like TikTok or something or online where someone is like really gets into their man cave, right? And I've always really wanted like a Star Wars cantina slash like theater area just to have all these things, because I'm just, I want to do that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I would love to do that one day. And when it comes to the podcast and stuff, I always felt like a podcast should be more than one person, but I'm the guy, I'm just the only person. I'm just me. There isn't anyone else that I really have in real life that I could do that with or online. So, it kind of demotivated me to not want to do Star Wars podcasts, but I feel like I'm missing out, especially when you stop making content. I feel like when you stop making content, it's never a good thing, especially if you want to talk Star Wars. So you always got to keep it up, You should get some LED lights. LED lights I feel like a lot of people really enjoy. I used to have a lot of them because, the streamer stuff, everybody always likes to do that. But at the same time, I feel like there's other ways to be creative because when you see LED lights, everyone's always using them. Imperial Activity says, I'm still sub to the Temple Audio Pod. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll probably pick it up again. I'm just not sure when exactly. The whole point of me doing the streams and the watch parties as well as the shorts for Star Wars is just because I want to try to create the community. I really want to delve in and get people in and get excited to do these watch parties. Because that's what I want. That's why I started the channel in general, is because I wanted people to talk Star Wars with, and so that's why I'm doing this all the time. Yo, Vahel Heathen says there's some action figures up there at the top. That's cool. Yes, yeah, I got some Funkos and I got some lightsabers on the side. I'm still trying to figure out where exactly I should kind of do this entire thing. I feel like I would like to stand. Maybe I'll stand one day. I'm not even sure if I can do that. I don't know, maybe I can, but it's going to take a lot of me figuring out how the hell to work everything on my desk. But I think the coolest part, I don't even know if everybody on the actual stream can see, but the coolest part for me has been, let's kind of do this 1 second. The most recent edition. I don't know if you guys see the Nihilus and everything else in the Star Wars Encyclopedia. So you guys get a little bit of that, and I'll show now to the phone. So I got Nihilus over here, I got the Encyclopedia, I got the Ahsoka stuff over there, and the whole wall over there, which I really love, just because the pictures are there, and Mando as well, Mando's helmet, which I really love. But how many of you have actually read a lot of the Tales of the Jedi stuff? I know a lot of people are doing the new canon, and I know I like the new canon. I actually just got sent out a book from Star Wars, which is really crazy because they haven't sent me anything in like over a year. When the High Republic first shipped off, I was getting a lot of the books. I got like their first phase. I got like Light of the Jedi. Wait, did I get Light of the Jedi? Yes, I got Light of the Jedi. I got a few others, and some of their young adult novels that they gave me. And they would give me like one book every once in a while because I'm not a large creator, I'm just a random scrub dub on the internet. I just got lucky enough for them to acknowledge me. And I recently ended up getting... 1 second, everything. Okay. I recently ended up getting another email from them, which was really awesome, and they sent me out the new stuff. And the new book doesn't come out till the 24th of September, and it's actually pretty solid. It's actually one of the books that I've actually really enjoyed, because I haven't been enjoying the last phase of the High Republic as much as the initial ones, but that was really cool for them to acknowledge me and send it. Imperial Activity says, back in the mid-90s, I was the first run issues of Tales of the Jedi comics. Oh, really? That's pretty cool. I love seeing them in real life, because a lot of the stuff that I usually see is usually like electronic on the comics, the Marvel comic apps that they have now, and I don't think a lot of people really have ever read those comics. I know there's a lot of people that watch YouTube videos about the stories of Exar Kun and the ancient Sith Lords. Everybody's really obsessed about the ancient Sith Lords because, that entire spiel is what Kreia says in Knights of the Old Republic. And everyone's always talking about that one line because Kreia talks about how, oh my god, the ancient Sith Lords are so powerful compared to us. We're basically like children playing with toys compared to how the prowess of these masters. And I don't think really anybody kind of understands what's actually happening, and when she says that, especially when you look at the villains, the characters that come from that entire game. Nihilus, Darth Zion, and Traya. Even characters that come from the first game, like Darth Revan and Darth Malak, and the Star Forge, and the amplification, how amplified Malak's power is when you fight him at the end of Knights of the Old Republic 1. And then, of course, how powerful Jedi form, or the canon version of Revan, is at the end of that game, too, because of how powerful Darth Malak is. And then, of course, in Knights of the Old Republic 2, everyone talks about Nihilus and how powerful he is and how he's a world eater. When, yes, he is extremely powerful, but he also has an extremely powerful weakness. And Traya alludes to that a lot in that video game. But the one thing a lot of people kind of misunderstand is that, you know, those characters that come before that video game are more powerful than a lot of the characters that are actually in that game. Even some of the writers have even talked about that too, how, like, you know, we like Darth Nihilus. Darth Nihilus is very powerful, but he's actually not as powerful as Naga Sadow. And then if he's not as powerful as Naga Sadow, then that means he's not as powerful as Frida Nad. And if he's not as powerful as Frida Nad, then he's not as powerful as Exar Kun. You know, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to talk about the ancient Sith Lords, because there's this whole power gap thing, and there's this whole interesting way that how they affect everybody around them when they're dead. And it's really interesting how, you know, you have Force ghosts, but then there's also Sith spirits, and a lot of the Sith spirits are really utilized a lot in a very, very, very interesting way in those comics. And also, of course, we had talked about the last time I made the presentation, we talked about, of course, the rise of the Sith Empire, right? The golden age of the Sith Empire, and then the eventual downfall of the Sith Empire, which is something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys about in general. And it's so much, but it's all connected, and it eventually influences the Knights of the Old Republic games, and then you finally get to see how that turns into the Rule of Two and the Darth Bane trilogy. And then, of course, from the Rule of Two, we got Master and Apprentice, all the way up to Plagueis and Darth Sidious, and then to the prequels. So that's why I love usually rereading those comics and just see how everything starts, how the building blocks, it's like the pillars of the foundation of the dark side in Star Wars, and it's really, really interesting. David Torres, thank you so much for coming here, fam. I appreciate it. By the way, can I get a ready up inside the chat from everybody? Thank you so much, Imperial Activity, Texas, David Torres, Mr. Walk, of course, and Valhall. Thank you so much for coming over here, fam. Everyone loves Revan and Cal Kestis. I'm still obsessed with Darth Maul and Anakin, Darth Vader. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm not really big on Cal Kestis per se. I like Cal Kestis. I do enjoy the video games. I think Jedi Survivor is awesome. I think Jedi Fallen Order was great. I really love those games. But I haven't really been so fixated on a character, I think, for a video game in a very long time for Star Wars. You know, just because of Knights of the Old Republic and the Star Wars Old Republic MMO, I really enjoyed that. A lot of people love Galaxies, Star Wars Galaxies. They think Star Wars Galaxies is like one of the greatest RPGs that they've ever played. I never really got to play that. I didn't even have a computer when I was younger. I really didn't start playing PC games until I was like 24, 25, when I was able to buy a PC for myself. And that was around the time that Star Wars The Old Republic came out, and I loved it. I literally just sunk into it every single night that I'd come back from work, 12-hour shifts, go on to the Imperial Fleet Cantina, or also Nar Shaddaa, which was really fun. Really enjoyed those games, man. They were so fun. Fallen Order was great. Fallen Order was amazing. But yeah, I really do love a lot of those characters. I just got really attached to my character playing those stories, you know. That was really enjoyable. I absolutely love that. And I'm yearning for a new experience like that today, because I feel like we haven't gotten it. Outlaws is really fun. I do enjoy Outlaws. I think a lot of people kind of like are drinking the haterade for Outlaws. I understand why they don't like it, but I definitely feel like the game is better than what they're saying. You know, it's not perfect by any matter of the stretch. You know, it really is a solid Star Wars game. I don't think it's amazing. I just think that it's a solid Star Wars game. So, Ancient Sith Lords, man. Ancient Sith Lords. Now, what's really interesting, what we talked about, of course, was this discovery, right, of Korriban, the exile of the Dark Jedi after the the second great schism. And we talked about that, of course, because the Jedi Order is created. Then, of course, there's a civil war between the Jedi and the Dark Jedi. They're fighting over ideals. They're fighting over ahch-to and Bogan, which is the light side and the dark side. Someone discovers it or becomes aware of it, and then they want to start, using it and experimenting with it. And they realize that one side realizes that this is the dark side. We probably shouldn't be doing this. And then, of course, that causes a whole war. Now, those exiles, they lose that war, and they get excommunicated, isolated. They're banished. And we talked about that and how they're basically sent into uncharted space, unknown space at the time. And it's very hard to do this voyage because there isn't really a lot of hyperspace technology. It's really terrifying for them to just literally go out there and drive their ships into the unknown. And then, of course, where these Dark Jedi find themselves is actually in the Sith Empire, the Sith People Empire. And it's really interesting to see that. And when they show up, they conquer them. They become the first ever Dark Lords of the Sith because the Sith people cherish them, praise them as gods because their power is so strong. And the Sith people are also very strong, too. They have a natural affinity for the dark side of the Force. And that's what makes it so interesting. And this is where really the ancient Sith Lords really begin. This is where it starts, and I really like to see more of just how the origins had started with the ancient Sith Lords. I think it's really fun. I think it's really interesting how basically everything that had come out from this was so, how can I say, influential. I think there's a lot of obsessions, including myself, with the ancient Sith Lords, right? And what I don't think a lot of people understand is how powerful they are after death. And we see a lot of that, we see how the Force ghosts in general, they're very powerful throughout all of Star Wars. There's someone's doing something in Star Wars where, Anakin Skywalker comes back from the dead. He brings back Ahsoka. In my head canon, Ahsoka was dead, and then he goes into the world between worlds. Finishes her training, and somewhat brings her back alive, right? And then, of course, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's helping teach Luke destroy the Death Star, and then teaching him through Yoda, and then being there on Dagobah, and then, of course, Luke Skywalker, lifting up the X-Wing and all these things. In all iterations of Force Ghosts, they are very powerful, way more, and they have much more freedom and power, in my opinion, than a Sith ghost does, a Sith spirit. But these Sith in the comics, man, are so interesting. Like Marco Ragnos. Marco Ragnos dies, right? He's dead. And this is the point of the Sith Empire, where the Sith Empire is freaking out now because Marco Ragnos was so powerful that this entire culture that was basically on civil war was just fighting each other the entire time, to the point where it was like barbarism. They were just completely fighting each other no matter what, struggling for power. Everybody was trying to betray and rule each other. This guy was so powerful that they didn't do that as much around him. And so the moment he dies, you have these two guys, Ludo Kresh and Naga Sadow. And Naga Sadow sees himself as the self-proclaimed Dark Lord of the Sith, the new leader of the Sith. And he wants to go out and conquer the Republic. He wants to go out and find their old ancient enemies of the Jedi. They don't even know where they exist, by the way, because remember, they're all on the other side of space. And Ludo Kresh doesn't want that to happen because Ludo Kresh really feels like, you are taking this role of Dark Lord of the Sith. You have this title, you're self-proclaiming yourself as this new leader, when our leader just died, and we all should be figuring out who really should be the new leader. And they're about to fight, Marco Ragnos and Ludo Kresh. And as they're about to fight and kill each other, Marco Ragnos literally manifests himself from the spiritual force plane of beyond to stop their fighting and says, no. And shows them this vision about the Jedi and everything that's going to be happening in the next, couple arcs of comics. And it's really interesting how that happens because that is a very omnipotent power to do. I don't even want to say angelic, but Sith, especially when it comes to the dark side and their abilities, they're not really supposed to live after death. You know, that's a Jedi trait. That is a Jedi ability. That's what Jedi train and learn to do. You know, including Yoda, including Qui-Gon Jinn. You know, that is supposed to be the be-all ability. And Marco Ragnos isn't like immortal by any means. It just seems like he's a ghost. He's there. He's attached because the Sith people also are, you know, they praise the dead. Korriban specifically is like a ghost town. That is literally an entire planet filled with graveyards, right? And so they have all these tombs, and the tombs give all these spirits, dark side spirits, power. And that's why someone like Marco Ragnos is able to manifest himself. Because not only do the Sith people have that natural affinity for the dark side, not only does the planet have that natural affinity for the dark side, which is essentially giving him the source of power, that energy. Now he's able to do that. He's able to do something that a lot of other Sith can't do. And he's also very powerful. So it's not like every other Sith on that planet can do that same thing. He really is an outlier. He really is someone that is one of the more powerful dark side users in the entire timeline of Star Wars. And that's why it's really important. You know, where's the Sith cloak? Yeah, the Sith cloak, we're saving that for watch parties because I live in Florida and it's 90 degrees here and I don't want to melt. I don't want to die. So I'm trying to keep myself, even right now, I'm already sweating because of the lights in this room. So, yeah, man, that's how it is. But if you guys have any questions about the comics or anything or what I'm talking about, because I know a lot of you probably haven't read the comics and everything. If you're lost, please, man, there's no bad question. I'm just talking. I just want to talk to people about Star Wars and the shit I've learned and the shit I've known for years. And then I talk in my videos. But, yeah. I want to talk about... I just like talking Star Wars with you guys, you know? That's all. I need to get some water, though. 1 second. So, as this is happening, right? We have Naga Sadow and we have Marco Ragnos. We have Marco Ragnos coming back from the dead as a spirit. And then, of course, we have Ludo Kresh. Ludo Kresh is kind of... I don't really like his character too much. He's kind of like a baby. You know, he really is. I don't like... I mean, I think that his decision-making makes sense. He does not want Marco Ragnos to lead the Sith. And, he does not want Naga Sadow to lead the Sith. And, honestly, that makes sense. Naga Sadow is coming out like a power-hungry monster. And he is. He also has a lot of... agenda. He has a lot. He's very, very ambitious, and I think in the wrong way. Texas Yankee says, "What is the first comic I should read? I haven't read any." So I think Tales of the Jedi is a very interesting comic to read because it's completely detached from like everything that you know of Star Wars, and it's like one of the very first Star Wars stories ever, in chronologically in the timeline. So if you want to start at that point, that's basically point zero. You could start right there. You can find the comics online. You could probably find the comics at a comic book store if you want. But I think what's really awesome about the Tales of the Jedi series is that they are connected to the overarching story of like the Old Republic, and that eventually leads into the movies. So it's really cool. Let's say that when you watch the prequel trilogy, right? You start at episode 1. And you see Palpatine and the dark side and the Sith, you're going to understand what that means to be a Sith. You're going to understand what that means and like the heritage and the legacy of that culture of the Sith, how it first started. And I think that's a really amazing way to kind of lead yourself into the rest of the franchise. I don't necessarily think like it's like the best comic book series out there, or the best one for a beginner. But if you want to start at point A and all the way head into, you know, Z, I think that's probably a really good opportunity is to start there. Usually what I do if it's a franchise, I try to get into like my favorite character or my favorite movie. Yeah, no problem, Texas Yankee. I think that usually comics surrounding around your favorite character or your favorite movie are also really good. So it all depends. You know, it really all depends on what you want. But I'm really enjoying Tales of the Jedi series again and my reread, and it's fun as hell, man. Like it really is. It's just so fun to see everything. And there's a lot of like original ideas in that comic book, like stuff that you would think like, oh wow, you know, like this is like 1995, 1996. They thought about these things back then. Yeah, they did. You know, it was really fun. It was really great. Yeah, man, I really enjoy it. What is this? Why is that? Oh, interesting. It's the reflection of the phone? That's hilarious. You guys can see the chat. That's crazy. That's funny. Because my phone is right there and it was reflecting. That's so crazy. But yeah, I think those are really fun. I just really enjoy reading a lot about the Sith. I think that when you follow the Sith, I think the Sith, in my opinion, they have better stories, they have better characters, they have just a better overview of the Star Wars story. If you want to follow Jedi and how the Jedi operate and what the Jedi do, I think it's not as fun. I don't think it's as enjoyable. And the reason why I don't think it's as enjoyable is just because the characters, when you're reading the story, I think the Jedi struggle to really show yourself like, hey, you know, this is what Star Wars is about. And I think that's actually why so many people love the Sith. And I think that's why so many people love characters like Exar Kun or Darth Bane. There is a lot of amazing Sith books out there that are revered in the dark side, that are focused on the dark side. And, you know, right off the top of my head, like some of the most amazing books that I think about all the freaking time is Darth Plagueis novel and the Bane trilogy. Those are Sith books, you know? Some of the best comics I always think about are, of course, the Tales of the Jedi series. That's Sith, you know? So it's really interesting to see how, I understand why so many people love the Sith and why the Sith fan base has always created this hatred for the Jedi. Bugsy says, came to say hello before I take a nap. Also, have you read Star Wars, the Republic comics? Star Wars, the Republic? The Old Republic? Is there a Republic comics? I feel like, because I know the Old Republic comics, which go into, which is what I'm getting into after the reread of the Tales series. But those are really interesting too. Nope, the Republic. So I'm going to see this. I want to see if this is, yeah, because a lot of the OT stuff, or the Clone Wars stuff, I've kind of steered away because it was just so saturated. There was so much. Star Wars, the Republic comics. Interesting. Oh yes, this is 2004. Yeah, so these came right out. Yeah, this is old. It's so funny that this is kind of old school Dark Horse, but it's really not. First one I see is Ki-Adi-Mundi. There's a couple of them too that I was reading. That was actually official Star Wars comics from like 1998, right before the movies were coming out, and Ki-Adi-Mundi and Platoon were in there. And I actually made a video on it because it was just talking about it called Qui-Gon Jinn a gray Jedi. And it's so funny how so many people, including myself, where I was like, oh, you know, gray Jedi stuff is just a fan-made thing. But then you start looking at like the Star Wars Old Republic campaign guide, and then of course that comic, which that comic actually has the first ever, in my opinion, talk about just like the gray Jedi and what they're referring to. But he doesn't, like, the way the Wookiee character says it, which I think is Platoon's master, if I remember correctly. He was talking about how, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn is kind of seen as like a gray Jedi, but not in a sense like where he uses the dark side. It was just that Qui-Gon was someone who openly defied everything, so they didn't see him as like a generic Jedi. They saw him as an outcast, almost. He was very unique, very different, and I think that's why he was labeled as a gray Jedi. So yeah, that's just really interesting, really fun. But yeah, the 2004 comics, I'm definitely gonna check out because I want to just get into the Old Republic first, and then progress into everything else. Because the Old Republic is so fun, man. I just feel like it thrives no matter what. Every time you read a lot of the Old Republic stuff, it's just so good. especially the old Tales comics, man. And again, like I was saying, they're so old. The Tales of the Jedi comics are so old that a lot of people don't necessarily read them anymore. They've kind of just watched YouTube videos and they haven't necessarily talked about everything else. Yes, Alpha 17. Yes, that whole entire story, the invasion of Kamino, which is interesting too about Kamino. I think, especially with the old Battlefront games and the Kaminoans fighting back with other clones. You know, and it's really interesting to see that. Yeah, man. I find it really enjoyable. I love a lot of the comics and everything. But, yeah, man, I'm just really excited to see more of it, and especially as my Legend stuff goes in. Man, I just ended the YouTube live stream on the shorts. I don't know if it goes directly to my following. I kept getting a whole bunch of people that I've never seen that weren't subbed. So I might not do the YouTube shorts anymore. I might just do it here. I feel safer with you guys. Oh man, it was a little wild. I had a lot of crazy comments on there, so I just stopped. Yeah, guys, I think it's really enjoyable to read a lot of those comics. So definitely get in there. I think the first anything that I ever read was the Bane trilogy. Everyone had just talked about how great the Bane trilogy was, and I had to get in there. And his story is really interesting because he's not necessarily like other Star Wars character. Like, especially when you read a lot of the Old Republic stuff, where you make your own character, right? Especially in like the video games, it's always you make your own character, or it's a Jedi path, or this person is already super special and powerful. But Bane is so interesting, where Bane makes his story starts so late. Bane's story starts so late. He's like already like middle-aged. I want to say he's like in his 30s, late 30s even. And it's really interesting to see that type of story progress, because we only ever have young characters in Star Wars. And to see Darth Bane do his thing, I thought was really, really interesting at that first book. Because when you start reading Path of Destruction, you're just like, whoa, what the hell? This guy is not like 10 years old or 11 or 13 or something. He's immediately like working. He's in the mines. It's really interesting how Darth Bane's story kind of progresses. Yes. Yo, what's up, everybody on Instagram? Thank you so much for coming over here. Yankee says, "Is there anything that we should read or watch before Skeleton Crew? Is it an entire?" So okay, so this might be a little different, but I think you should probably read Outbound Flight. I think Outbound Flight is really interesting, and it might have nothing to do with Skeleton Crew, but I think everybody got to understand the importance of the Outer Rim, how hard it is to fly in the Outer Rim, how hard it is to fly outside the known galaxy of Star Wars. And even if you do not read the entirety of Outbound Flight, Outbound Flight gives you a great fixation, a great idea of what's happening in that galaxy, and it's awesome. Got all that muscle from hard work. Yes, he was a beast, man. He is a beast. I love Bane so much. It's but that's why I loved that book in general, because everybody had been talking about it for so long, and when you finally read it, especially when it comes out, when you finally read Bane and just see his story of how it was, he wasn't necessarily a bad guy at the start. You really understand how crappy it was to be in the Republic. And then, of course, the Jedi war that's happening with the Jedi and the Sith. And then, of course, if you've read the Tales of the comics, if you've played Knights of the Old Republic, which is what we were talking about before, Texas Yankee, when you start reading the Tales of the Jedi comics, you understand where the Sith started, where the Jedi started. And then, of course, how the Republic kind of created a lot of these problems for the Sith that the Jedi were blamed for. And it's really interesting to see that progression, the continuous, balance is always tipping back and forth, in the Star Wars. That's why it's Star Wars. It's not Star. It's just Star Wars, and because there's constant wars. And Bane is just this guy that's literally trying to survive. It gets really bad for him, and then he chooses a path, and that path sends him on this crazy journey of becoming one of the most influential Sith Lords in Star Wars. And it is such a good story. And that's why I continuously think about it when I think about the best Star Wars books. Yes. Phantom Menace, they made him bad because of their distance. One mastered, one creative power. I've read that one 1,000 years prior to The Last Hope. Yeah, thank you so much, Kiv, for coming in here, fam. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely evil, especially like Sith in general. You know, there's a lot of people that continuously comment on the videos that I make about Jedi and Sith. Every time, you know, I'm not really a Jedi fan, but I'm not, like, I love the Sith, but, you know, the Sith are evil. The Sith are problematic. You know, their entire code is not about freedom. It's about slavery. They're enslaving themselves to the transformation of achieving power. They are a slave to it. Even though their entire code is about breaking their chains, it's the complete opposite. They're shackling themselves to power, to achieving power. And that's what a lot of people kind of misinterpret, misunderstand about the Sith code, and they don't understand that. Revan himself talks about this in one of the best books of all time, which is the Essential Guide to the Sith and Jedi. Jedi versus Sith, Essential Guide to the Force, which is one of the best Star Wars books, and it goes into great detail about Revan's ideology, his thought process, and how he created the idea for the Rule of Two, and then how Bane, of course, found that holocron, not only in that book, but also, of course, Bane Path of Destruction, and then he talks and uses a lot of the verbiage, a lot of the word verbatim to found the Rule of Two. So it's really interesting to see that ideology and how they ultimately adopt that Sith philosophy. Yeah, it's really crazy. Not even misunderstood. Not evil, just misunderstood. Where did you get that book? So definitely check online. Definitely check at a lot of garage sales. A lot of people don't know that they have a lot of Legend stuff. So definitely go and check those out, fam. Dropping was the first mention in the novelization of The Phantom Menace, when Sidious's trying to teach Maul the importance of patience in the Rule of Two. Sorry, my phone was like glitching. I don't know. I was trying to figure out what was going on. Yeah, there's a. It's interesting because Bane was always a very important character, and George Lucas himself was talking about how he envisioned a war and how the Sith basically talked or controlled the entire galaxy. The Sith, in George Lucas's vision of what he thought came before the movies, the Sith controlled the galaxy. And from there, they basically killed themselves out because they betrayed each other. They did all these things. And then one bad guy, one Sith, ends up creating the Rule of Two. And that's how they survive. Now, the version of that is what we get in the expanded universe with the Path of Destruction. But it's really interesting to see how that idea that George Lucas had ultimately created the character of Bane. And then the renditions that we have in the Path of Destruction book. And, of course, the Jedi novels, the Sith novels, and the Darth Plagueis novel, which is an amazing book as well. So good. That book is amazing. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you so much, everybody on Instagram. Ralph and Osis and Kiv and Robbie. Appreciate you guys being here. What's your thoughts on Orbalask? I thought it was cool. I would have kept it on me. Oh, which one? They just... What would you... Sorry, man. I'm trying to keep up with Instagram. Instagram's going crazy. The process to take them off. Eesh. Yes. That is really interesting with his armor. You know, I think there's a lot of things, especially with his armor and a couple other stuff. You know, it reminds me a lot of like the Starforge, where Malak is just so overpowered in the Starforge. You know, Malak specifically is extremely overpowered in the Starforge, to the point where he's literally draining everybody else around him. Very Nihilus-esque. And the Starforge is also broken as well, because the Starforge creates it creates weapons. It creates invasion forces. Like, dude, the Starforge is one of the most broken super weapons in all of Star Wars. It's up there with like Centerpoint Station. It's where it's just crazy strong, and the fact that Malik is that strong at the end of that game, and it really makes you understand how strong Jedi Knight Revan is at the end of Knights of the Old Republic. And yeah, I think about that with the Obelisk too, but I don't like seeing them, in my opinion, attached to like a character like Bane, because I think it also somewhat negates his actual power, because he has to use that. It's somewhat of a MacGuffin, It's almost like, I don't know if anybody's Dragon Ball Z fans, but it's like a Zenkai boost or the hyperbolic time chamber, where you're using these things, and these things are kind of amplifying your power in some way, and it augments the natural ability of the character, or the natural way to get power. Which is why I kind of don't like Vitiate a lot, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but Vitiate, in my opinion, was just so broken, so overpowered in a way that really made that expanded universe in Star Wars: The Old Republic not fun, because I think it really deteriorates or destroys the reputation of Revan through the Knights of the Old Republic games, and even more so in the Revan book. Do you think the Rakata had other outposts? Yes, Ralph. Absolutely, fam. Yes, absolutely. So, and that's my thing too, is like, Ralph, when you think about like the Infinite Empire, and for anyone that doesn't know, the Infinite Empire, the Rakatans, this was the almighty crazy force that the Republic was fighting before the Republic even existed, before the Jedi even existed. This was the Empire before the Empire. They were literally going planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy, and taking entire species and putting them into their ranks, and putting them into slavery. Very similar to like the Covenant in Halo, but on just a universal level. And when you read and play Knights of the Old Republic, and you read a lot of the stuff with the Rakatan stuff, you really kind of understand that the game doesn't make sense into how big they are, because it talks about how many planets they took and colonies, and then you actually end up, through all the lore of like the Galactic Empire with the Emperor. The Emperor's planets and territories are more than the Rakatan Empire, so it doesn't really make sense. But what Knights of the Old Republic tries to establish is that the Infinite Empire was infinite. They had infinite resources. Their technology was unfathomable, to the point that even something like the Starforge today would surpass something like the Death Star and all the other Rakatan technology. So yes, I absolutely believe that the Rakatans had crazy things out there. I don't even think that Starforge is the only Starforge that they've had. I'm pretty sure there's probably multiple of them. There's probably different types of Rakatans throughout all different galaxies, but Star Wars has never really expanded that beyond Knights of the Old Republic. But that's a theory video that I've been wanting to make, because I feel like it makes the most sense. Yes, man. Especially the Rakatans are so strong and crazy, and I think that we don't get enough of them in general. DVC for the win, but the hyperbolic time chamber didn't fit that description until they lost their connection to the Force. Yes, exactly. Until they lost their connection to the Force and died out, which is also really interesting too, because we do get a look at that in the Path of Destruction Bane book, where Bane is going to the planet of Lihone, which is where the Starforge crashed in Knights of the Old Republic. But Bane is talking about how he notices the Starforge there. He goes into detail. I even have the page typed off somewhere for notes for my videos. And he just talks about how the wreckage of the Starforge is circling around the planet of Lihone. And that makes it seem like the wreckage isn't completely destroyed. It kind of seems like the Starforge is rebuilding itself in its own way. Not maybe completely to the shape that it was in the video game, but it's still operational. Now, does it have a source that it can use? Probably not. So it's really interesting to see what would happen if the Starforge was able to be a thing. And that book also describes how it's incredibly difficult to even get to Lihone, the planet itself, because there's just so many obscurities and conflicts and problems inside that system that a lot of people just don't even try to go there because it's too dangerous. Rob says, I hate how Vitiate was born like a horror movie villain and how he possessed Revan and Malak. Yes, Robbie, I do not like Vitiate. I understand everybody's obsession with his power, because it's not like you get to see a lot of characters like that in Star Wars. But that's also because I'm a George Lucas baby, and I just will always die on the hill that Palpatine, Darth Sidious, is the most powerful Sith Lord, no matter what people says, just because that's the way George Lucas envisioned it. And so you see all these characters in the expanded universe. Whatever that they can do, George Lucas probably believes that Palpatine is supposed to be the omnipotent representation of the dark side. He literally refers to him as the devil. But when we talk about Vitiate and him existing and what he does to Revan, and what he does to Revan, of course, is he kidnaps him and takes him prisoner, mind controls him, puts him into torture for 300 years. This is a character that we just talked about that was so powerful at the end of Knights of the Old Republic that defeated Malak, a power-boosted Malak on a Starforge, to the point where the dark side energy inside the Starforge is amplifying Darth Malak's power, and anybody that goes inside the Starforge is literally collapsing because the dark side of the Force is just too strong that the dark side is consuming them. Revan beats that guy at the end of that. So no matter how strong you think Darth Revan is before the events of Knights of the Old Republic, which is very strong, even the Exile says, like, yo, the most powerful dark-sided person I've ever met is literally Revan when he turned to the dark side. And then that guy isn't as powerful as the guy you play as in the game, Jedi Knight Revan, the canon version of him. He's more powerful than that guy. And then this character created for a video game, Star Wars The Old Republic, MMO, completely nullifies not only the journey you took through the character of Knights of the Old Republic, but just completely disrespects the legacy, you know, and in the wrong way. To the, you know, it's the same thing with like Nihilus, you know, the Planet Eater and things like that. But on Vitiate's on a scale to the point where he's getting more powerful, like he's a Super Saiyan, which I think is very anti-Star Wars. And I just didn't really like the approach that they took for Vitiate, and how the approach of Vitiate in that game just kind of just smacked Revan and his legacy. I thought it was total disrespect, and that's why I don't like Vitiate as much. But that's just how I feel. That's just my opinion. It's okay if you like Vitiate, you know? Yeah. What do you think of Force-sensitive individuals felt during the first Great Schism? Oh, man. I love the Great Schism stuff because there isn't much on it. And we were just talking about this a month ago about the Great Schisms and, of course, the eventual creation of the Sith Empire and the Dark Exiles and them becoming the first Dark Lords of the Sith. It's really interesting to think about the Jedi and what they became with the Yothor and the creation of the Republic, the creation of the Jedi Order, the founding of the Jedi Order. And then, of course, you know, your own disciples discover or become aware of this dark-sided force that is connected to the same power that you use, right? And this is the unifying force. And if everybody's all connected and they're on Tython, right, with the moons of Ashla and Bogan, it's I think that is pretty terrifying for them to understand that people amongst their own ranks wanted to divulge or diverge from this plane that they had of just light-sidedness, and then it turns into dark-sidedness, and then, oh man, terraforming planets and experimenting on the life itself to the point they're evolving in an unnatural way, which I think was really disturbing for them. And then, of course, through that, you know, they have the followers of Xandor, you know, which is also really interesting to see just how no matter what's going on, they're always losing. The Jedi are always losing because someone gets curious. And then, of course, even in the Tales of the Jedi comics, the same thing with Exar Kun, the same thing with Eula Qel-Droma, which is really cool to see. Just like the dark side is always naturally in someone, especially when they're curious. And it's a tragedy, because I think Exar Kun's journey is very similar in terms of how he wants power, or how he's looking for power, how he's curious for power, like Anakin Skywalker's in the prequel trilogy. You know, very, very cool. Very good stuff. I love that shit. Yes. Robbie says, Revan and Malak being possessed during KOTOR 1 is a betrayal of everything the game is about. Yeah, so I don't mind the idea of okay, so what I think is really compelling, and at the end of Knights of the Old Republic 2, guys, is that Traya, the villain, the main villain of Knights of the Old Republic 2, said, you ask her, where is Revan? And she's like, I don't know. Maybe he's at the end of the galaxy looking for people like you, the exile, the main character in the game. Maybe he's looking for people like you to fight the battle of all battles, like Lord of the Rings stuff, like the Dagovere, right? This is it. Like Revan is finding people in unknown space, far beyond the reaches of the galaxy, to go out and fight whatever. That's really cool. It's like he's going on into this whole other realm of the Force. Very similar to like Force Ghosts, why they can't always continuously, intervene with what's happening, right? And I thought that was some good stuff, and I really appreciated that, especially on Revan's journey, because that's who he is. That's who the game makes us feel like he is. And then, you see the Holo Terminals timeline that they have for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and then you find out that the reason why Revan fell to the dark side was not actually why he fell at all. It was more so like, yeah, he went out, saw something, went to go find it, and it turns out it's Vitiate, this really powerful dark-sided guy, and this guy is strong enough to turn both Malak and Revan to the dark side. I don't mind that part, because I feel like every Force sensitive that is powerful has to confront the dark side. And the way Revan was even, going about finishing off the Mandalorian Wars, he was very ambitious. He wanted to take action. That's very Anakin Skywalker-like. So I appreciate that idea, and I think that can lead someone down the dark side, that dark path. And that made a lot of sense. But making Vitiate so strong that he mind controls people, I think was just it was just too much. I felt like that whole area that they took with Star Wars: The Old Republic and creating Vitiate, they wanted to make an emperor. They wanted to make a Darth Sidious of the Old Republic, and they probably should have just chose a different route. Or maybe make Revan, the big bad, or maybe even Traya, or another Force wound. I think that would have made a lot of sense. But that's me. The Eternal Empire, the Valkorian, yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was just really interesting. I didn't think, I don't necessarily, I love Star Wars: The Old Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic is one of my favorite games. But I just didn't like Vitiate. I didn't like what Vitiate was doing. I did like how cool they made the Hero of Tython in the story class, and so I think the Hero of Tython, Darth Imperius, everybody that you play as in Knights of the Old Republic end up being the Outlier now. I haven't played the game in a long time, but I know it's like the Outlander or something, and that's who basically your character becomes. That was really cool, the way that they stuck those storylines together, but I just feel like what they did with Revan was so weird. Because mind you, before all the Revan DLC comes out, you actually fight Revan in the Flashpoint, and Revan in that Flashpoint is only like a level 30. And mind you, like the highest level in that game is level 50. Level 55, I think, was the largest level. So it was just weird. That type of treatment for that character was really weird. People talk about like the sequel trilogy and like Luke Skywalker. Nah, man. Nah, bro. The way that they treated Revan was ridiculous. Was, in my opinion, much worse. Much, much, much worse. Come on. This was a character that influenced years and years of Star Wars story through the expanded universe, which a lot of people loved and obsessed with. It's crazy that type of critique isn't critiqued as much. That was definitely something that I would critique a lot more back then, harshly. Abeloth uses the Force to influence people, and she is trapped. Yes. Abeloth is a terrifying, terrifying abomination. And I love the idea how consistently Abeloth is thought about and theorized to be out there. I actually just made a video on it as well, especially being in the mall and Sinkhole Station and luring everybody that is passing by. And it's really cool the idea of Abeloth being chained inside the mall, because there's so many dark holes. There's so many black holes. The mall is just interesting in general. And Centerpoint Station. Oh my gosh, I love that type of stuff. That Interstellar X stuff with Star Wars is always so interesting when they use that in Star Wars, especially in the expanded universe. I think the expanded universe excels so much with that. Like for instance, the what is the Dune book? The Crystal Star, you know, and other space and everything. It's just really interesting how they start using the vastness of Star Wars, which is why I liked Ahsoka so much when it came out. It's not the best, you know, Star Wars project, obviously, but it's my favorite because of the interstellar travel, because it reminds me of Outbound Flight, and reaching out of the Star Wars galaxy and going to Peridia, going to other places. You know, it's also interesting, like Mortis, and how Mortis is created, and where Mortis is in the plane of the Force, how Mortis is able to go around the entire universe of Star Wars and just appears wherever it wants to. Really cool stuff. You know, last time we saw Mortis, of course, was in the Clone Wars animated series. And it's really fun to think the idea that Mortis is still around, doing whatever it wants, and will appear whenever it wants to. And it's just, you know, non-existent right now. Bro, you know so much. I'm going to play Battlefront 2. Thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for watching the videos. So I appreciate you even being here in general, man. But we got 4 or 5 minutes left, and then I'm going to chill out and relax and then get ready for work. So I'll work tomorrow. But any questions before you guys leave about Star Wars or any of the videos that I've made recently, please go ahead, fam. Thank you so much all for being here. We got 3-4 minutes. Thank you so much. Where or what is Ahsoka doing during the Empire and Return of the Jedi? She is essentially helping the rebel cells, slowly but surely. And you see that in Star Wars Rebels, that what she's doing. Because a lot of it is her kind of escaping. And especially that time of Revenge of the Sith and before A New Hope. She is literally trying to go around planet to planet, do what she can, and stay alive. And she had Inquisitors fighting her until the point, of course, where she united with everybody that you see in Star Wars Rebels. And then she slowly helps Mon Mothma and Phoenix Squadron, Hera Syndulla, and everybody help create one of the first rebel cells, and then ultimately create the rebellion. But her story, and I'm surprised they haven't really made that as an animated series. Like, dude, like, she had to go through so much to even try to exist and stay alive. And we only get really a small portion of that, man. What do you think of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka? I think she's perfect. I don't think anyone else could play her better. I think everyone's always going to be critical of, like, you know Star Wars and movement and the choreograph, and of course like the physicality of the actors and actresses when they use a lightsaber. Not everybody's going to be hating Christensen. You know, I'm not saying that it should be bad or it's going to be bad, so don't get your hopes up. But I think that Rosario is doing the best that she can, and I think that she's killing it. Definitely, I like her. I appreciate. I like it. I like Ahsoka so much that I got the damn statue, $300 statue that I can't wait for. So I'm excited about that. So Xander's schism was supposed to be the same schism that produced the first Sith Lords, but somebody at Lucasfilm didn't want the Sith to be around that long for some reason. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not sure where that source is, because we see so many nods to a lot of the Tales of the Jedi series and Dawn of the Jedi, and then of course Dawn of the Jedi is being made into a movie. So I'm just not really sure if stuff like that is accurate, especially if it floats around, you know. But yeah, man, thank you so much, Ralph. I hope you have a good time with BF2, fam. Okay, all right, 2 more minutes, and then we'll head out of here. And then thank you guys for watching the videos. I got, of course, videos every single weekday coming up. And then we also do this stream every single Tuesday. Every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. But next week, I don't think I can do next week. I think I'm busy next week. I think I work or something. But every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Nah, man, you're a G. Thank you so much, man. I'm just a simple lore guy trying to make my way in the universe, man. That's it. Really, I'm just a scrub dude. Thank you guys, appreciate you. But yeah, I did want to talk about Ancient Sith Lords, but we went all over the place today. But next time, I'm gonna talk about Ancient Sith Lords because I just love Frida Nad and Marco Ragnos, Naga Sadao, how they influence so many things, and it's so damn interesting to see how powerful these things are, especially when they're Ancient Sith Lords, and they're just starting. Like it's all just starting out, man. It's so sick, man. Thank you so much. So separate from the Bane series, what happened? What happened to him? What happened to Bane or Set? Oh, this is Lumaya's. I think this is in the last book. Yo, Falcon Squadron. Yo, fam. I was literally about to head out. Thank you so much for coming over here. Hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Oh, this punk. This guy. Yes. Yes, he's in the Dynasty of Evil book. I remember now. Yes. I'm rereading everything again because it's been so long. Especially when I'm making all these videos, I have to make sure all my sources are right. So, and I hate looking at Wikipedia because Wikipedia is wrong a lot of times for like the first appearance in certain sources. So yeah, it's been crust. Yeah, Seth Harden went into movies and didn't bother anyone. That's crazy. That's a very long time. That's very long. Bane is like 1,000 years. That's crazy. I'm not even sure what type of race he is. I thought he was like I thought he was a human. I could be wrong. Yeah, but the Dynasty of Evil is really interesting too, because so many people think that Bane, used essence transfer to take over Xana, and then, Xana's fingers were moving, which was a sign that she ended up negating the power, and it wasn't a successful essence transfer. But then Bane is inside of her spiritually, his essence is inside of her, so it made it seem like he was in control. I don't think that's true. I've also heard about the writers saying that no, Bane didn't successfully essence transfer, but I have to research those stuff because I don't like taking the things word of mouth. So yes, it's really interesting to see all that stuff, but it all sprouts from the Dark Blade stuff, man. What, you must serve penance following week with a cloak appearance. Yes. I know. It's just so hot over here, guys, man. It's always 80, 90. You guys really like the cloak, huh? Maybe, Halloween's coming up, and I'm probably gonna be doing Kylo Ren again. So, I was gonna do the Stranger, but the helmet for the Stranger doesn't come out until next year. But we'll see. But alright, guys, it is 9:05 over here. Thank you so much, everybody on Instagram, for following, and I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Thanks you again. And I hope to see you guys next time, every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Thank you for watching the videos. Make sure you comment, and I'll be around next time. All right, guys? Deuces. Okay, so I just ended Instagram now, and I'm going to give all the cool kids on YouTube, all the good stuff. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell to do this YouTube stuff and Instagram. And the thing is with Instagram is incredibly interactive. Like, there is always stuff on Instagram. And I wish that I could set it up in a better way. Like, that's why I just wanted to stream from here, from my camera. But it looks like everything is so mobile. Everything's on the phone, and everything on the phone works better. Instead of the camera and streaming it from OBS and onto the stuff. So it's just a lot of stuff I got to figure out, but I want to keep doing this for the watch party. So when we get to the watch parties and we watch Skeleton Crew and Andor Season 2 and Mandalore Season 4, and Ahsoka Season 2, whenever all this stuff comes out, we can just watch it together as a community. So, yeah, one at a time, building blocks, baby. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys always showing up. Texas Yankee, I hope you get home and enjoy your day. Thank you so much, Imperial Activity fam, Bugsy, David Torres. Hope you're doing well, fam. Thinking about you, my guy. And I appreciate you all. But don't forget. Yo! Oh, I just missed your streams. Oh my gosh, the Smash days. Always remember. Oh, is your stream over? By the way, congrats, Raze, on the video. Appreciate you, fam. Yes, sir. Let's go. But yeah, you know the drill. You know the drill. Apprentices and acolytes coming into the Dark Temple. Visited by Mara J, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I'm Lord Dagovere, and I'll see you around. Deuces.